Welcome to The Explainer, where today we are diving in to a real head-scratcher coming straight from the top. You've got the White House sending out two totally opposite messages about a major global conflict, and it's left pretty much everyone, from Wall Street to Main Street, completely confused. So what is actually going on? Okay, so on one hand, you have this from the president. He gets on TV and basically tries to send this wave of calm across the country, telling everyone the war might just be wrapping up. A message that's absolutely designed to soothe some very nervous investors and a public that's pretty worried. But then, almost at the exact same time, you get this from the Pentagon, which paints a very different picture. The Secretary of Defense comes out and says, nope, this is just getting started. It is a massive contradiction. I mean, how can a war be both ending and beginning? That is the puzzle we're going to solve today. All right, let's get into it. To even begin to understand this contradiction, we have to do something simple. Ignore the words for a second and just look at what's happening on the ground. Because the actions, they tell a much, much clearer story. So despite all this talk of peace, the reality is things are heating up big time. We're seeing Israel launch a whole new wave of attacks. Iran is flexing its muscles, striking a U.S. base way over in Iraqi Kurdistan. And on the diplomatic front, Iran's slammed the door on any nuclear talks, and its neighbors, like Lebanon, are beefing up their borders. This is not de-escalation. It's the exact opposite. Now, when tensions get this high, the conversation, of course, turns to the big players, the major alliances. And everyone starts asking, could NATO get pulled into this? The answer to that question really hinges on its most famous rule, Article 5, the whole idea of collective defense. And here is the crucial point you have to understand about Article 5. It is purely defensive. It's meant to be used when a NATO member gets attacked, right? It's all about self-defense. It's absolutely not a blank check an ally can use to drag the entire alliance into a war that they started. Think of it this way. You can't just go out, throw the first punch, and then expect all your friends to jump into the fight for you. It just doesn't work that way. So let's circle back. If the military situation is clearly escalating, why on earth would the president get up and say the war is ending? Well, the answer seems to have a lot less to do with what's happening on the battlefield and a lot more to do with what's happening to your wallet back home. And here it is. This is the real pressure point. In just 1 week, this conflict has sent gas prices jumping 17%, and diesel a staggering 22%. That hits voters directly, and it's a huge threat to one of the administration's biggest promises, keeping inflation down and fuel affordable. So when you really look at it, that statement about the war ending, it wasn't a military update at all, was it? It was really an economic tool. The whole point was to try and force some calm into those crazy oil markets, hopefully bring prices down, and just reassure a very nervous public. It's a political play, plain and simple, meant to manage the economic damage. But wait, because the impact of this thing goes way, way beyond the price you pay at the pump. This regional war is now threatening something that all of us depend on every single day, and in a way that most of us would never, ever expect. Yeah, the biggest twist in this story isn't about oil or about missiles. It's about a critical, kind of invisible supply chain that is now under serious threat. And the consequences could literally be felt at every dinner table on the planet. So let me just ask you this. What in the world do farming and modern warfare have in common? The answer is a chemical product, one that is absolutely essential to growing the world's food. The answer is fertilizer. You see, the Strait of Hormuz isn't just a superhighway for oil tankers. It is critical for agriculture. A full 1/3 of the entire global trade in fertilizers passes right through that narrow little waterway. We're talking about things like urea, which is vital for growing staple crops like wheat, corn, and rice. And right here, this is the chain reaction. It's like a row of dominoes. The conflict messes with shipping. That disruption has already made prices for key fertilizers shoot up by over 25% in just a few days. That means farmers, everywhere from Iowa to India, are suddenly facing way higher costs. And the last domino to fall? Well, those costs, they get passed on to us, which means more expensive food for everyone. Okay, so let's pull all of these different threads together. When you boil it all down, what are the most important things to take away from this really complicated situation? First, what politicians say and what their militaries are doing can be two completely different things. Second, never underestimate how much domestic economic pressure, like the price of gas, can shape a country's messaging on the world stage.
Third, and this is maybe the biggest one, a conflict that seems far away can directly threaten our food security through a fragile supply chain most of us never even think about. It really is all connected.
And that kind of leaves us with one last big thought. From the gas pump all the way to the grocery store, the effects of this conflict are already hitting home. It really forces you to ask, in a world that's this interconnected, is any war, anywhere, truly happening somewhere else?